Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the English news from Djibouti channel. They are the top title of our edition tonight. Our headlines are signature of financing agreement for the integrated urban development program. On continental news, attention is growing up 3 weeks before the deadline. Welcome if you join us before developing this title. We start with this message of condolence from the country's leading personalities following the death of the brother of the president, Mr. Ismail Omar Gili. The deceased Saad Omar Gili, those Mr. Aden Ali Muhammad, head of mission at the Djibouti embassy in Eritrea, and the staff expressed their condolence, more saddened, to the president of the republic, to the family of the deceased Saad Omar Gili, Sheikh Abdurrahman Amoudi, and all SDTV staff present to His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Gili, and his family their sincere condolence and compassion for the loss of his brother Saad Omar Gili. The Director of Maritime Affairs, Mr. Ali Mirah Shihem Daoud, on behalf of the Directors of Maritime Affairs, also expressed his deepest condolence to the President of the Republic on the family and relative of the late Saad Omar Gili. Mr. Mahmoud as well, Roble Dabbar, Director of Djibouti Railway Company, expressed his sincere condolence at this painful time to the President of the Republic. Also, Colonel Wais Umar Baqari, Commander of the Djibouti Coast Guard, and all the staff of the institution would like to express their most sincere condolence to the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Gili, for the death of his brother, as well as to the whole family, relative, and friend of the late Saad Omar Gili. The President of the Annex RPP of Tajora, Mr. Ali Mohammed Gedile, as well as Mr. Hassan Abdullah Ali Hassan, retired journalist, and the Deans of Djibouti's artist, Mr. Hamadou Dabele, and Mr. Adam Farah Samatar, sent their condolence to the President of the Republic and the family of the deceased, we pray the God to welcome him in his eternal paradise. The advisor also of the National Assembly, Mr. Ngura Mige, and the Sub-Prefect of Adailu, Ali Umar alias Ussa, the trader Jama Umar Said, and his family joined the pain of the family, relatives, and friend of the late, the director of the late Saad Omar Gili. All present of their sincere condolence to the President of the Republic and the family of the late Saad Omar Gili. May the earth be light for him and welcome him into his eternal paradise. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. And now let's move in Geneva, where a strong delegation led by the Minister of Interior, Moumin Ahmed Sheikh, take part in the 7th sessions of the Executive Committee of the High Commissioners Program, which is held from 7 to 11 October 2019. The minister was accompanied by the trip by the permanent representative of the Republic of Djibouti to the United Nations Office and other international organizations in Geneva, Mrs. Khadra Ahmed Hassan, and the Executive Secretary of UNARS, Mr. Hussein Hassan Darar. The Republic of Djibouti hosts more than 30,000 refugees and asylum seekers, mainly from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, as well as many other countries. The government of Djibouti provides refugees protection through legislative reforms and adopts the Global Refugees Responses Framework, a United Nations initiative to safeguard the well-being of host communities and refugees through on the New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants. The Minister of Finance, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawala, welcomed the signing of this new financing for more than 1.3 billion Djibouti franc, which will enable the 30 priority districts to be restructured as part of the Zero Slum project. The effect of this project will be open up the Liable mosquito and the district and improve the living conditions of the inhabitants, but also to strengthen their associative and economic capacity, as well as to strengthen urban management by the local authorities. This will facilitate the Minister of Market Equipment to create a market polarity of proximity, such as the deployment of street lighting and drinking water along the redeveloped roads, facilitating and daily lives of residents, especially women and children, and above all, a place for sport and relaxations to improve the living environment and boost the social economic development. The Minister of Finance added in his short interview that the effect of this project will be open up really sure, especially in Liable mosquito, the district, and this project will improve the living condition of inhabitants. He added also that this project will make it to strengthen the associative and economic capacity and strengthen urban management by local authorities. The minister concluded his speech. The Minister of Budget, leading a large delegation, made a visit to the DFTS Z this morning. The delegation was welcomed by the President of the Djibouti Port and Free Zone Authorities, Abu Bakr Umar Haddi, and the head of the port and the free zone. The visit was carried out under the explanation of the commercial director and the other manager of the various departments of this department. The objective of the visit is to create an adequate environment for the establishment of national and foreign companies that will and be exempted from all taxes. The expected economic impact on the GDP and the free zone. At the end of this visit, a meeting took place between the Minister of Budget, Abdul Karim Aden, and the President of the Authority of Ports and the Free Zone of Djibouti, Abu Bakr Umar Haddi, as well as the head of the DFTS Z and the head of the custom and all other institutions. The Minister, after that, of Finance stressed the importance of the visit to create an adequate environment for the establishment of national and foreign company that will be exempted for all taxes. In his part, the Minister of the Budget said the importance of the visit to improve the quality of our services to the foreign companies. Under the co-chairmanship of the Secretary General of the Minister of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism, Mr. Dini Abdullah Umar, and the Commander of the Coast Guard, Colonel Wa'ais Umar Bakar, took place this morning, October, in the Dorale camp of the Djibouti Coast Guard, located in Dorale, a ceremony to receive equipment to strengthen the preservation of marine and coastal biodiversity at the national level. The event was attended by the Director of Environment and Sustainable Development, Mr. Hussein Rirash Roble, and the UNDP representative, Mr. Idris Bixi. The ceremony was marked by the official speech and the signing of a partnership agreement between the two institutions. The purpose of this ceremony was to receive equipment to further strengthen the monitoring of marine protected area. The colonel all welcomed the consistency of this project and stated that all the resources made available of this project will certainly make it possible to increase the monitoring, protections, and conservation he added that this partnership agreement has been signed between the Ministry of Urban Planning, Environment and Tourism through the Director of Environment and Sustainable Development of Djibouti Coast Guard. The Djibouti Chamber of Commerce organized in collaboration with the French force stationed in Djibouti 2 days devoted to the needs in equipment, supplies, and services in construction and rehabilitation. The purpose of the organization of these days was to bring the French army closer to Djibouti companies so that they could showcase their activity. It was a time for exchange and sharing on the practices, procedures, and constraints of the French army in Djibouti in relation to the skills, know-how, and own constraints of Djibouti entrepreneurs. The interim president of the CCD, Abdullah Ibrahim Abdullah, first welcomed this operation, which aims, he said, to bring the French army closer to the local companies so that the latter can showcase their activity and know-how and meet the army's needs in goods and services. The thirst quenching project financed by the World Bank, Prodermo, our community rural development and water mobilization project launched in 2012 has come to an end. The PMU, the project management unity of the Ministry of Agriculture in charge of Prodermo management, organized project completion workshop on 30 September in Dakhil on the 7th and 8th 2019 on Obakh and Tajora. Prodermo, which cost $50 million, won a major battle against thirst and poverty in rural areas, implemented in 3 regions in the country, which are Dakhil, Tajora, and Obakh. The president of the council was pleased with the positive impact of Prodermo program to improve access to water for the beneficiary population living in rural area of 3 regions. For his part, the coordinator of the project, Mrs. Paragoita Said, confirmed that the excellent collaboration and the technician of the project, and he concluded that the beneficiaries who have made the program successful. And now let's move on continental news. By 553 votes in favor, 40 against, and 2 abstentions, the broadly approved a measure as important. It was assembly the reductions by about a third of number of parliamentarians. This constitutional reform will be implemented at the end of this mandate. Theoretically in 2023, from 630 deputies today, Italy will increase to 400. The number of senators will be reduced from 350 to 200, which means a reduction of about 1/3. Proponents of this reform said will save the country about 500 million euro per legislators. Boris Johnson warmly welcomed the new president of the European Parliament, the Italian David Sassoli, but some observers have questioned the meaning of this visit. David Sassoli, at the end of the interview, acknowledged that not breakthroughs had been made. We will not accept an agreement that undermines the Good Friday agreements and the peace process in Ireland, or that will compromise the integrity of our single market, said the European officially. Here we arrive at the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.